Hi guys, welcome back to today's video. My name is Kat. I live here in Hawaii and I make YouTube videos about gardening in Hawaii, about being a mom, about like my house, and just a bunch of other things that have to do with my life. I am actually working on a puzzle right here. It's a Disney puzzle. I just turned off the camera. So I've been working on this for a little bit. I was wearing this in the last one. And I kind of just wanted to keep talking. It's been really enjoyable for me. I'm gonna like scoot this camera back just a little bit so you can see maybe more of the puzzle, less of me. But I thought that I would maybe just share and talk about, oops. Okay, so I thought that I would maybe share, and this is, I just like turned on the camera, so I have no idea really what I'm talking about. But I thought that I would maybe share my experience as a single mom. So I am 25 years old. I'm about to turn 26 in a couple of months. I have a 2-year-old daughter. She's gonna be 2.5 when I turn, I'm not 16, when I turn 26, oh my gosh, when I turn 26, she'll be 2.5, which is pretty crazy to me that I have a kid this old. Oh my gosh, she's like growing so big. But I separated from my husband when she was about 6 months old. It was the best decision of my life. I guess I'll just kind of jump into like just the topic of being a single mom and what this has been like. So I was really unhappy in my relationship, and I knew pretty early on into our marriage that I just like, it just was not for me. And you may have your own opinions, and this is like not a place for you to come and judge me, because I would never judge you on anything that you did. Okay, so this is my life. This is something that I've gone through, and whether those were decisions that were good at the time, it felt like that's what I needed to do. So yeah, this is my story. This is me. At the time, I just knew. I knew that I was unhappy, and I knew that I would probably never be happy. And it wasn't the being a new mom. It wasn't any of that. I was just like, I just almost knew instantly, like, this is not the relationship for me. Like, I am so miserable. Like, that's the only word that I could really use to describe it. I was miserable, and I do wish that, you know, that he and I could, not that I was with him, but I do wish that, you know, Logan didn't have to grow up in a split household. It's never something that I dreamt about or that I planned, but you know, it was definitely something that happened, and all you can do is learn from your mistakes and move on from there. I had been trying to move out for kind of a while before that, and I mean, he commented on it every single day that I was just like spending more and more time there, that I wasn't like, I was just like, I dreaded going home. It was like the worst part of my day was having to go back home. And while I was still like on my maternity leave, he used to pick me up from my parents' house, and you know, we would go home. And I hated it. Oh my gosh, I would find any excuse to sleep over. So I knew pretty early on. It's not something, you know, that like I wish would have been my story, you know, but it, I mean, I guess it is what it is. When I left, I never looked back. I never regretted it. I didn't think like, oh, what if I go back to him? Like, it was never ever in my mind that that's what I was gonna do. Like, once I left, like, I left, and I have never given it any sort of thought since then. And I've been happier than I feel like I've ever been. And I think that Logan is so much happier than she ever could be if he and I were together. And I do know that the topic of divorce and the topic of a child being in a split family, like, that does hit home to some people, and it has affected people in their lives. And that's something that, you know, like, can be really hard to talk about. But my mom and my brother's dad are not together. My brother is my older brother. He's older than me by like 3 years, and I've spent a lot of time talking to him as an adult about his experience. And sometimes when I need reassurance that, you know, things will be okay and that she'll be okay, you know, I look at my brother and I think, like, I feel like his life could never have been any better. He lives with his dad, and, you know, there were the three of us and we were super close, but I kind of felt like he had an escape out, you know, like when he wanted to come over to our house, he would come over to our house, and when he was ready to go home, he could go home. And, you know, like he felt like, I felt like it was always like he was sleeping over rather than like, oh, my brother's here, you know. And I never had like that traditional, like, oh my gosh, my brother's so annoying, like, you know, like that my brother picked on me. I never had that experience. And sometimes I wish that I did, because I feel like I can't always relate to people when they talk about like their annoying older brother, because my brother was awesome. Like, was my brother's biggest fan growing up. We thought he was the coolest, you know, and he has little siblings now and they think he's so cool. But, you know, I asked him, I'm like, do you feel like you wish that your parents were together? And he's like, no, I never knew otherwise. And there was never like anything where I felt like I was missing out, like, oh, if my parents were together. And I want that for Logan. And of course, like, their stories are going to be so different because they're not the same person and this is not the same situation. But I was so unhappy, and I spent like the first 5 months of Logan's life just crying every single day, crying to sleep, crying nonstop, just looking at my time with him, just nonstop crying. And the place where we work, we worked at Target together. Some people still judge me, you know, I don't work there anymore, but I get calls and I get texts from people who are like, oh, you know, so and so, like, you know, they feel like you should get back with your ex or whatever, you know. And it's just like, I maybe didn't look as unhappy as I was, but I knew how unhappy I was and how I would never probably find happiness with him. And I just like was so tired of crying on my child. Like, I would nurse her and just cry, like, and yeah, like, I did have postpartum depression, but I also think I was just depressed. Like, I think that started way before, you know, having her, or even, you know, I think that it was something that I was going through, like, just prior to having her, because I didn't feel like the normal postpartum symptoms that people feel. I just like was unhappy with my life, and not my life with Logan, just my life with him, so which makes me feel like it wasn't just postpartum depression. I'm like a firm believer in just doing what you feel like is best for you, because that's going to be the best thing for your child. You know, if I said that two parents being together, regardless if you're happy together or not, is going to be best for your child, then that's just not right, you know? Like, you have to be happy too, because when you're not happy, your child, like, they feel that. They know you're not happy. And I definitely was not happy. I don't even remember, like, I don't remember any of my time during, like, that beginning when I first had Logan. Like, I just wanted to, like, not remember it. And that's not how I wanted to experience the beginning part of Logan's life. Like, I loved every bit with her. And even when I was pregnant, like, when I think back on all the happy moments, none of them involved him. You know, like, he just, like, was not supportive. And I felt like I was robbed of a lot of really happy moments with Logan because of that. And like, I was just so tired of that being my life. And I had I've watched people who stay together for the kids, and I would never ever judge anybody who feels like that's what's best for them. Like, if you feel like that's what's best is to stay with your child's, like, other parents, because that's going to be the best life that you guys are going to have together with them. Like, I'm never going to say not to do that. You do whatever is best for you, but I just knew that wasn't the life for me, because I was miserable. Like, and I was miserable from, like, day one of being married, you know? And so like, how could I look down years of my life and think that I was gonna like magically like just be happy, you know? Like I just knew that that wasn't the case for me. And so I left, and I have never looked back since. I do have an incredibly supportive family. Like I got a good batch. I got a good batch of people, and even like those that are not my blood family have supported me through all of it. And like I will always just be so grateful for my family. I could not do any of this. This house is built by my dad and my uncle and my brother, you know? My brother helped to build this house, and he's like my baby brother. Yeah, family, like, we may not have always been close, but when we've needed each other, we've, like, I am just so grateful for the people that I have. So, yeah, my sister has been like a rock for me, and I never ever in a million years would have thought that my sister and I would have that sort of friendship and that relationship. And my daughter is like the biggest fan of my sister, and that is so cool to me. That it's just, kids really do bring out something in a family that you never knew could be, you know, a dynamic that's so special and so different. Like I look at my dad and even my grandpa, watching my daughter and my grandpa together, it's like I've never seen him so happy. His face just lights up when he's around her, and she just brings out the best in all of us. I'm like getting emotional just talking about it. That's not even what this is about, but I just believe so heavily in do what's right for you, and you may feel like you're being selfish. You may feel like as a mom, you're not doing what's best, but if it's best for you, it's gonna be best for them. Like I 100% believe that. You have to be happy. You have to be happy with your life, you know? Like you have to enjoy this time that you have with your child, and if you're gonna spend it crying like I did, it's just not the story. That's not how it's supposed to be written. That was not what was in the plans for me, and I wanted to change that narrative, you know? Like I was just so tired of feeling like that and feeling so alone, that like I chose me, but really I chose my daughter, even though it felt like I was being really selfish. And he still tells me that I'm selfish. But I knew, and I look at how happy she is, and I look in the mirror and I'm happy, and I know that, I just know that that's the best thing for us. So if you feel like you're alone, I promise you're not alone. Having a kid is so scary, especially at my age. Like I was only 24 when I found out I was pregnant, or 23. I'm so young. I am a really young mom, but like I knew that I would be okay, and I am okay, you know. I feel like my life just like opened up, and I had all these doors available. Just closing one door, like I feel like I moved into this house and we changed so much, because everything that was decided was not what I wanted. It was just to make my ex happy, and now I'm living in a place that I love, and everything just makes me happy, and I can spend time like this by myself. And it is hard. I stopped breastfeeding pretty early because we were separated at that point, and it is hard, and I miss Logan I miss Logan like all the time. And I went through a really bad depression when we first separated, because I wasn't seeing her all the time. She was only 6 months old, and we definitely went through that period where he, wanted to take her back to Alaska, and I'm in Hawaii, so just completely different places, and we won't even really get into that. But that fear, that I just felt like I was living in fear for a long time of like, and I just realized, like that's the kind of power that somebody thinks that they have over you, and they don't. And Logan and I are so fine, and she sees her dad regularly. Like we have a really good schedule. We almost half, and we worked together. It took a while, and I really wanted it to be like that. And he didn't, but I knew that even from the beginning, even though like I hated him and I don't know. I don't think I hate him, but I sometimes feel like I do. I always wanted it to be what was best for her, and you know, I just have to suck it up. And I didn't want that to be a part of our story, you know, threatening to take her, and like that's just not something that I wanted for us or for her, you know. But I'm sure I missed a bunch of things. I didn't plan it, but I didn't really want to sit here and like plan out a video like this. I just wanted to be able to speak from my heart, and if I ever feel like I didn't cover certain parts that I want to, then maybe I'll make another one. But right now, this is my story. We haven't really even jumped into a large portion of her life. We're only 2 years in, but I think we're doing pretty okay. Yeah, and I'm pretty proud of myself for doing what I did, even though a lot of people think I'm really selfish for doing it. But like I said, if you feel like you're alone, you're not. I promise you, you'll be okay. Just think of your baby, and just you know as a mom what's best for your child, and you make that decision based off of that. That's all that matters. But thank you for watching. I hope that this wasn't too boring. Yeah, I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.